I'm gonna talk about steams and soaks and hot compresses and foot baths and that kind of stuff. So there's so many different formulas for steams and soaks and so forth. It depends on what you're trying to treat. But as my example today, I'm just going to do a really simple thing, which is just mugwort, which I go out and pick sometimes, but of course this is from the herb store. It's, very inexpensive, and you just take out an unspecified amount and put it in a bag. Of course, how much may depend on, if you want to do a foot soak, you need a large volume of water, but if you're just doing a hot compress, you don't need as much water. So, you just put some in a cloth bag. You could boil it without a bag, but then you have to strain it. And so if you simmer it in the bag, that just saves a little bit of work. And it smells good. I wish you could smell it. Okay, one more little handful. And it's messy, yeah. So whatever formula, you just put it in the bag. If it involves some powders, you can put that in a second bag, in it like a tea bag like thing. This should be enough for the amount. There really aren't exact measures. There. And then this bag I just, wash and reuse. And there, that's the first part. To do a steam or a soak or a hot compress or a foot bath, you need to boil water. Of course, for a foot bath, you need lots of water. So I have my biggest pot. Actually, I have a bigger pot, but it's way too big. And you put the herbal formula into the water, and I'm gonna kind of try and get it wet. Okay, and then you just turn on the heat. And I'm going to cover it and let it simmer for a while. Again, there's no particular measurement of water, no particular measurement of formula, no particular time amount to let it boil. You just have to play it by ear. I mean, yeah, you can find directions, but it's just not that hard and doesn't need to be that precise. It's not like internal medicine where you really do have to worry about dosage. So, I'm going to wait for it to simmer, and then I'll have to wait for it to cool down. It'll be too hot. So it's simmered for a while. You can see it's still boiling. If I wanted to do steaming, of course, you would find a way to safely suspend the affected part in the steam. V-steaming, vaginal steaming is a whole different topic that I'm not going to cover here. There are others who are specialized in it, and it's a great thing, but I'm just going to talk more about aches and pains, steaming for aches and pains, and that kind of stuff, injuries and so forth. So you, of course, have to be extremely careful with steaming and soaking, not to scald the patient or yourself, and find a comfortable way to suspend the affected part over the rising steam without injuring them. And so that's one thing you can do. I'm going to let it cool for a while because it's just too hot to do soaking or hot compress yet. Do you see the steam rising? It's very hot. At this point, if you want, you could remove the bag of herbs. But I like to leave it in. I don't mind it continuing to get stronger. As far as a compress goes, one of the things you can do is you can take like a washcloth or just some kind of, clean cloth and put it in the liquid. It's still very hot, so we have to be careful. And do you know what this thing is? This is like a potato masher. I think they're called ricers, R-I-C-E-R-S. And you open it up. They're a little bit weird. Let's see. I'm trying to get this in the frame. Okay. So then you can take out the cloth, and a washcloth fits perfectly in it. And then squeeze it out. And now I've got a perfect warm cloth to put, sorry, banging, on an affected part. It's actually still too hot right now to use, but in the air it will cool off pretty quickly. So if I had wrist pain, for example, I could just wrap my wrist in it, and it's still kind of hot. I'm impatient. I'm trying to make the video, but that's basically a really wonderful thing. It feels so good. And then if only one person is using this liquid, you can re-dip it when it cools off and, squeeze it out again and use it repeatedly on the same site. If this liquid is made for more than one person, maybe you could pour off a separate bowl for each person so they can re-dip the cloth, because you don't want somebody double dipping. That works really, really well. And when I've done this in a live class, people really respond well to it. They like it. So, this is also something that could be done instead of moxa in some cases, because there's no smoke. There is aroma. It definitely smells like herbs, but it's a no smoke method of using mugwort if you use this, or of course you can use other formulas. So that's a hot compress. You could put it on the neck. You could put it on a sore part of the back. You could put it wherever your pain is. You can do larger ones with like a whole towel or something like that, but it will be hard to squeeze out, especially because you want it fairly hot, and then when it's hot, it's hard to squeeze out with your hands. So I like the washcloth size pieces, and the potato masher. So on to the next stage. If you're going to do a foot bath, you need a large tub. It could be a very large pot, but even for me, my feet don't fit very well in the largest pot that I have. You can buy these kinds of things at, I got this at a place called Mitsuwa, which is a Japanese grocery store, and it's made for foot baths. It has a handle, not that that's important. It has a space for each foot. And if you're doing this for yourself, like I'm the only one who uses this, so I can just pour the water in there and stick my feet in it. But if you're doing it professionally, of course you have to worry about cleanliness. So you would take a plastic bag. I hate using plastic, but you kind of have to for cleanliness. And then you'd pour the hot water in with the plastic bag, and then after you empty it, you'd have to recycle or get rid of the plastic bag, and for the next person a new plastic bag. So that's one of the things you need if you're going to do a foot bath. So here we go. I'm going to pour the liquid in the foot bath. Let's get the bag of herbs. I just include that too. I don't care. It's fine. It's not going to get in the way. Okay. Well, it's obviously too hot for me to put my feet in. You can see the steam rising from it. So I have a plastic thing. I got it from Daiso. It's like a little stool. And I put it in there. I'm taking my socks off. Okay. And then you can steam your feet for a while this way. You know, you could find something a little lower. I have other things that I sometimes use. But you can steam your feet. One of the things you can do that will help is this is just a big old towel. And then I can put the towel over everything. So now you can't see very much, but it does keep the heat in much better. My feet feel more of the steam now. So basically then I do this. I could read a book, I could listen to a podcast or play on the internet, or I could just close my eyes and relax, and my feet steam until it cools off enough, and then I can put my feet in the foot bath. As I mentioned before, if more than one person is using your foot bath container, then you need to line it with a plastic bag. But since I'm the only one who uses this one, then I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy for a while. And that's what I'm doing today. Okay, it's cooled off now, so I'm going to try and put my feet in. I'm still going to leave the bag of herbs in. Yeah, that feels comfortable. It's warm, but you don't want to wait until it's, you know, really half cool. On the other hand, you don't want to burn your feet. So then you put your feet in and soak after they get used to the heat. You can, if you want to do a hot compress, another way of doing it is by taking the bag of herbs and squeezing it out. And then let's say if you have knee pain, you could apply the bag of herbs to the knee and just keep redipping it and applying it to the painful site. You don't have to be soaking your feet at the same time. That's just another way of doing a hot compress. Of course, we could still use the same cloth from before and dip it in and apply it to the painful site. So my feet are becoming more adjusted. So again, as before, you would want to put the towel over to help keep some of the heat in. And that is how you do a soak. Of course, for other body parts, you know, it can be difficult. If you have an elbow problem, you could get a pan of water on the table and set your elbow in it of liquid. You know, in the bath, you make a huge amount of the decoction as condensed as you can, and you put it in the bathtub, and then you add further hot water on it so you could soak your whole lower body that way. And so that's how you do steams and soaks and compresses, and they feel really good.